everybody, and welcome to episode 65 of the MyMuddlings podcast. Here we are. It is finally getting cool, guys. It's finally getting cool. Today is supposed to be a top of 21 degrees, so I'm super pumped for that. I'm wearing long pants. I don't have my hand knit socks on just yet, and clearly I'm sleeveless. However, it is kind of grey sky out there. It's a bit of blue peeking through, and yeah, it's cool and I'm loving it. I mean, the start of the week I don't think was as cool, but I've already forgotten that because now it is, so here we are. Right, so I guess I can start today. I'll have a bit more of a muddled musing, I guess. Just to respond to some things and share with you some comments that I had regarding my last couple of episodes from other viewers. And I've got notes here on my stable table, and yeah, I had a couple of comments in the thread on the MyMuddlings podcast group, so if you want to join in the discussion, please head over there. I put up a thread for every episode that I post. So if you have any questions or you want to add anything to the discussion, please head over to the episode thread and put it in there, and I'll definitely read it. I may not respond to you on there, but I'll probably respond to you on the podcast, as I am today. And yeah, so last week's discussion was about the capsule wardrobe, and the week before that was about impulse control. So Michelle, who is Vingirl Knits, I think, Vingirl, she was making, she was building on the analogy that I spoke about, how when, you know, I heard that somebody had described going to a fibre fest and feeling stuffed when they left because they'd bought so much, you know, yarn, and making the analogy that having so much yarn, having bought so much yarn was like eating too much food at a meal and feeling stuffed physically. And Michelle was just made the comment to build on that, and it's actually probably not a bad, you know, it could be useful, was to think of your impulse purchases as junk food and your planned purposeful purchases as healthy food, just to build on that analogy of feeling stuffed from having too much yarn, or having purchased too much yarn. So I thought that was really fun, you know, a good way to, because, you know, so many of us really do think about healthy food and junk food, and, you know, a lot of us are trying to lose weight and things like that. So we're very familiar with those terminologies of using junk food and healthy food, or, you know, sometimes food and everyday food and things like that. So to, you know, rename our impulse and planned purchases something along those lines, because we already kind of have, you know, depending whether you're a lifelong dieter like me or not, you kind of have already sort of the ingrained response. So when you think, oh, junk food, oh, I shouldn't eat that, oh, it's bad. So yeah, she was just likening it to food again, so sort of building on that analogy. And I kind of like really thought that that was quite a cool way of looking at it, because yeah, for me, you know, junk food, bad connotations, going to make you fat, it's unhealthy. So yeah, impulse purchases can be the same. They can make you unhealthy in different ways. You know, somebody like me, it can make me financially unhealthy. It can make me mentally unhealthy because I'm surrounded by clutter, and that's one of my triggers for my depression, is feeling overwhelmed. When I get really overwhelmed and stressed, which having too much stuff, like I'm looking around the room right now, there is still too much stuff in here. Yeah, the overwhelm and the stress can be triggers for my depression, and thankfully, touch wood, I am healthy at the moment, I am well, but I always, you know, try and guard myself against that overwhelm and that stress. And yeah, so I thought that was really a good analogy, and perhaps it could be useful for some of you out there. I don't know if you've noticed, but I think I sound a little bit croaky today. Not quite sure what that's all about. Feeling a little bit croaky. But yes, I guess I can move on to the next post that I had was Jude, who is the seventh girl. Hi, Jude. She has been my stallmate at a few markets that we've done together. She's also a hand dyer under the name The Seventh Girl. So thank you, Jude, for your lovely long essay. And please, if anything that I'm saying here in response to Jude piques your interest, please head over to the thread. I believe it was the Impulse Control episode thread. And read what she wrote back to me, because there's a lot of extra little bits and pieces that she has not, that I have not addressed here. So yeah, if you're interested in hearing more from Jude, head over and do read her post, because it's really a lot to chew on in that post. And firstly, I'd like to say thank you, Jude, she said that she really enjoyed the discussion, and which is great, because honestly, when I'm doing these sort of musing sections, I do feel a little bit like I can blather, and as a person, I can get a little bit scatterbrained, because obviously, because my brain just keeps ticking and working, and I tend to go off on tangents. So sometimes I do worry that what I'm saying isn't coming out as I'm intending it to, that I'm not actually making sense when, you know, I'm always worried that I'm not making sense and I'm just blathering, and I was glad to hear that Jude enjoyed the discussion, and she clearly understood everything that I was saying, so that was fantastic. Sorry, just checking to make sure I was actually recording, because I suddenly had this terrible thought that I'd gotten through all of that and I hadn't been recording. But no, I am recording, that's all good. And Jude had some really good points, and I think I'm going to adopt a few of them, because she mentioned that she tends to only buy things brand new if they are investment pieces. So she said, like, her Doc Marten boots, or you know, a good pair of trousers or a special occasion dress. Those are the only things that she does buy brand new, and she makes up the rest of her wardrobe by op shopping and just, you know, going in. And I love that idea. I thought that was so good, because, you know, I do go to op shops. I don't go I don't go clothes shopping myself very often at all, because you know, you need the dollars for that. But I sort of thought, well, it's never really occurred to me, because we do have a small clothing budget, and a lot of what goes to op shops are still perfectly serviceable items. And, you know, you can basically, you give new life to something that someone else has previously used and enjoyed, and it no longer suits them, or they've lost weight and they can't fit in it anymore, or something like that. You know, it contributes to reducing that waste. And I think that's a lot of what a lot of these discussions really is based on. It's the waste of money, it's the waste of materials. I saw Infinity War last night, Avengers, and not to give away any spoilers, you know, the whole motivation of the bad guy is that there's too many people, we're overpopulating, we're using up the resources, and, you know, of course his solution is just to kill half the people, which is not what I'm suggesting at all. But yeah, I think by moving to op shopping she said, for things like tops and like cardigans and things like that, just like little, just to build up those sort of not less important, but you know what I mean, like tops and things like that, they can be, you know, styles change, your tastes change, things like that, whereas a good pair of pants or jeans can last through lots of different sort of styles and, you know, life stages and things like that. Whereas your tops, they're a little bit more variable, plus, you know, you spill things on them and, you know, things like that, and they can get more damaged, more dirty, things like that, than your pants. And if you get your workhorse pants and you buy good quality pants and boots and things like that, you know, it's okay if your tops don't last as long. And if you've only paid $5 for them from the op shop, and you've given a piece of clothing another life, and reduced that waste and reduced the burden on, you know, the fast fashion and things like that from, you know, buying from places like Kmart and Target and things like that, you know, I think that's such a great way to go about it, because it not only, you know, it reduces the wastage, it reduces your carbon footprint, things like that, and it's the reuse sort of, and you know, you can even refashion things that you get from the op shop. You could buy a $3 sweater and you might be able to pull it apart and re-knit it, or, you know, there's a shirt that you don't like the long sleeves of, you can take the sleeves off, you know, that sort of thing, like just refashioning and giving things new life. And I think that's such a great way to go about it, and I think that's where I'm going to go from now. You know, again, because like I say, we don't have a lot of money. Our clothing budget is very small. It mostly goes on work clothes for Simon. He needs steel cap boots and things like that. So often our clothing budget will go mostly just to underwear and work boots for Simon. So to be able to go to the op shop and, you know, get a week's worth of tops for under $20 or something is probably a really good way to go about it. So I thought that was fantastic. Thanks for that tip, Jude. The next thing that she made a joke, and I thought it was really funny because I'm feeling exactly this same way. And she was saying that she wants to start sewing more of her own clothing, but sewing's not really her thing. Although I do enjoy sewing and I do enjoy making clothes. Jude was saying, you know, she maybe gets one garment every 2 years, and she made the joke of, you know, talk about slow clothes movement, and I thought that was really funny. And I feel the same way, because I've got this basket down in front of me. You've probably seen it somewhere on photos or Instagram, or photos I've put in the podcast or something. And it's basically all my sewing whips, and it's got the 2 sew faded sweaters that I knit for my nieces that I need to redo the necklines on. But other than that, it's all sewing things. And some of it's repairs, and I'm a bit like you, Jude. I don't really do repairs. Once something's made, it's made, and I don't want to touch it again, which is really, really bad for the sort of thing that I'm trying to espouse here. And yeah, mostly the repair things are Simon's, which again, selfish knitter, sewer and all of that sort of thing here. Why do I want to waste my craft time on fixing something for my husband? So yeah, there's a few repair jobs in there for Simon. There's unfinished garments, and yeah, I'm feeling you there, Jude, that, you know, things don't get finished in a timely manner, and it's, you know, by 2 years later, you're kind of like, I'm not going to wear this anyway, so, you know, it just sits around, and I'm so fed up because I've been moving this basket backwards and forwards, so I can use my desk and I can get into my wardrobe, and yeah, so I kind of really, really identified with that. I had to have a bit of a chuckle when I read that. And Jude also said that, you know, she's had to unsubscribe. Sadly, she said it actually was hard for her to unsubscribe from newsletters and emails and things like that, because too often she was finding herself going, ooh, lovely, shiny, I want that, and just going and buying it. And she said she's found it sad, because often in those newsletters, especially for handmade businesses and things like that, you kind of get, you know, along with the sales pitch, you also do get little glimpses of their life and little stories about their work. And from what I read, that's what Jude was upset about, was that she was going to miss out on those other little personal or behind the scenes kind of snippets that were also in the newsletters. But because she really wanted to not get triggered by the sales and things like that, she had to unsubscribe from them, and that's very, very true. I have done that in the past. I'm beginning to build up some newsletters again, so that's another tip for everyone, to actually unsubscribe from those emails and newsletters. And I mean, a lot of the time makers will be on things like Instagram or Facebook, and you'll still get to see the story, but maybe not with quite so much of the sales. I mean, although, you know, selling is kind of what handmakers, myself included, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. You know, I put out photos of what I make to try and incite sales, and you know, I'm not going to knock anybody for that. I do it myself. So, but yeah, if you are struggling with things like that, potentially there are other ways to find out, you know, the little behind the scenes and personal tidbits without being overly exposed to, you know, the sales pitch. Especially, I guess, with things like Instagram as well. I don't know how often people read the full caption. I often ask questions in the caption and I don't get a lot of responses, and either that's because people are short on time or people just don't read the captions. So often I do the same thing. I scroll through, if I'm short on time, I scroll through Instagram and I just like posts that I like, and I don't read the captions. So yeah, Instagram could be a really good way for you to keep up with those makers that you enjoy seeing those other parts from, but not getting sucked into the purchasing, because you might just see, oh, pretty yarn, I like it, I scroll past, rather than it being in a newsletter. Oh, look, I've got 20% off, like really big, right at the top of the newsletter kind of thing. So yeah, and she said that, you know, because of seeing things like sales and, you know, like probably even brochures that get dropped off in your mailbox and your newsletters and things like that, you want to buy because you're saving. And I've had to come to grips with this myself as well, and just being that it's, yes, okay, you're getting a discount, you're saving a bit, but think how much you'd save if you just didn't make the purchase at all. You know, that's kind of the thing, is like people who, you know, I've seen it on things, I can't even remember where now, but it was like people, oh, but I bought it on sale. And it's like, well, yeah, but did you need that thing? You know, is it really a bargain if you, A, didn't need it, B, didn't have the money for it? You know, it's like you're much better off not buying at all, because that's where you're saving the money, is by not buying at all. And further to that, she was saying, and this is something that I actually, now that she's articulated it, good, really good, and I'm going to try and adhere to it. And she's saying, with her knitting, only buying patterns when she's ready to knit them. And I understand this so much, because, you know, you see people, like, I think it was Boylan Knitworks was the most recent one that I saw, and she had 30% off, I think, her patterns. And I bought 4 or 5 of her patterns. And, you know, yes, they're all beautiful. I love them all. But I'm not anywhere near ready to knit any of them with all the whips that I've got on my needles that I'm supposed to be working on. I'm nowhere near, I don't have the yarn for them. I am nowhere near, you know, now that I'm being more conscious about buying and wanting to get rid of things, I'm not going to just go out and, you know, drop a whole heap of money on buying brand new yarn for this pattern and then having it jump the queue past all my other whips. And yeah, she's saying that she's just going to buy the patterns when she's ready to knit them, and that's such a good idea, and I hadn't really thought of that. And yeah, so I think that's definitely something that I'm going to really think about. And because she said also that she likes to support the designers by paying full price. You know, a lot of designers work for themselves, they're freelance, they you know, these pattern sales is their income. So, you know, yeah, okay, we could buy them on special for 30% off or 25% off. But like Jude said, you know, it's a $9 sweater pattern, not a Ferrari. You know, like it's 30% off $9 is not going to make a lot of difference. You know, it could be $1 or $2. Big freaking deal. And, you know, if you really enjoy these designers, what they do, you want them to keep going, why not pay that extra couple dollars and buy the pattern when you're ready to knit it? And I thought that was such a fantastic idea. And I mean, I do also know, especially for myself, when things get a little bit lean, especially because I'm in the sort of, I have physical items rather than a PDF pattern. I have physical items and finite space, and I can't have things, so I often do put things on special if times are lean and I need a bit of a cash injection, or if things are overflowing. So I know there are other motivations for sales rather than just trying to sell, that there are different motivations. But yeah, I thought that was a really, really good tip. And Actually, Jude, I don't know that this was in response to what I said, but I remember I spoke about my fabrics and how I have a lot of, you know, the frosting fabrics, which are the prints and the bright colours and that kind of thing, and not enough cake fabrics, which is your neutrals, your plains, maybe some stripes or something like that, just real basic, plain, more neutral fabrics. And Jude was saying that she's started to incorporate more neutrals into her stash. And again, that is not something that I'd really thought of, because you have all of these colours and you want to, you know, you buy all these beautifully bright coloured skeins, and you know, and then you get them home and you might just buy one because that's all you can afford, because it's a $30 skein of yarn or something, and as you're like, well, what do I do with this, you know? And she mentioned, you know, having those neutrals in your stash, so then you can add the colours, you know, your one-off skeins as pops of colour within that neutral garment. And fantastic, such a great idea. She had so much good stuff in this post, guys. Go and read this post. And again, that's not something I had ever thought of, and that's such a fantastic tip. And I guess, you know, because Jude is a yarn dyer, she said that she was thinking about dyeing it herself, but Knit Picks had a special, so she just bought a bunch of neutral colours from Knit Picks. And I've thought the same thing. I'm a yarn dyer. I can make my greys, I can make my blacks, I can, you know, do soft browns if I want. Not that brown's really my colour. But yeah, I can make the neutrals that I need, just tonal neutrals, just to go with the bright colours, and that's such a great tip. Really, really good. What's next? There's just so much to talk about in this post. Thank you so much, Jude. It was such a great post. If I could get more of you guys responding like this, it'd be fantastic. I just love hearing the different points of view, because like I'm saying, so much of what Jude said is stuff I've just never, ever has occurred to me, and it's just fantastic, and I'm so excited. Like, it's just made me so pumped to hear another person's perspective. And yes, this is something, because I actually today did my capsule wardrobe printout, which I'm going to briefly talk about in a bit. And Jude has also said, you know, that she's moving more to knitting things that fit in her wardrobe. And things that are, you know, things she'll actually wear, instead of things that she's going to knit things that are pretty or clever that she may not necessarily wear. And that is something that I am currently struggling with, because I have quite a few garments that I've knit for myself that I just don't wear, and I can't see myself wearing them because it's just not what I enjoy wearing. And I either knit them because I had the yarn in the right amount for that garment, or I don't even know. Like the thing that really weighs on me, there's two sweaters in particular that really weigh on me, and one is my Antros sweater by Shannon Cook, and the other is my Sprig sweater by Alana Dacos. Now, both of them are sweaters. Although I do enjoy wearing a pullover, heavy sweaters I don't enjoy. And but like a fingering weight sweater, like my Flax Light sweater, which I actually have to repair, I love it. I love it. It's just a beautiful light layering piece, perfect for our climate here. But my Antros sweater is an Aran weight yarn. The Sprig sweater is a DK weight yarn, and they're both green. They're in a really grassy mid-green. I don't like, I'm not going to say hate, I don't like wearing green. You guys have heard this over and over again. Don't like wearing green, but because I made them with my own hands, I don't want to let them go. And it's just nonsensical. They're taking up space in my drawers. It's colour I don't enjoy wearing. There's no reason to keep them, but it's because when you make something with your own hands, it's like it's part of you. It becomes part of you because you've invested your time, you've invested your money, you've invested your skill into this item. And please, if you have any comments on this, please do let me know, because yeah, I need to get rid of them. I don't wear them. They take up space. And but I'm really, really torn. So I would love, love, love to hear if anybody has any comments or tips in regards to that. I know my friend Lauren from Knit Night, I was absolutely stunned to see a post that she put on Instagram the other day. She has a beautiful Instagram, by the way. I'll try and remember to put it in the show notes, which of course can be found at www.mymuddlings.com. There you go. Yeah, Lauren was frogging her pomme de pin cardigan. And if you've been following me for a long time, you know that I have knit a pomme de pin which got felted and shrunk. And I'm currently knitting another one out of some yarn that I dyed myself. And I love that pattern. I think it's beautiful. It fit me really lovely. But she found it didn't fit her right. So her thing is to, if she's not happy with it, she just pulls it apart. And I'm so inspired by Lauren. I think it's fantastic that she has the guts to rip apart something that she's, you know, put so much of her life into, you know, her time and her possibly, you know, limited, we all have limited crafting time. We can't craft all the time. You know, that precious crafting time to go into this garment is just being unraveled. And that to me is super brave. And the thing is like, I'm inspired by her to potentially pull those garments apart. However, because of the colour of the yarn, I will never, ever want to wear that colour. It's not a blue-green. I'm okay with blue-greens. I can wear blue-greens. In fact, when I show you my capsule wardrobe, you'll see that one of the colours is a blue-green. I mean, I've got blue-green hair. Yeah, like blue-green is a colour that I will wear, but a grassy green, a yellow-green, So I really don't know what to do with these sweaters, but they are just making me feel a bit shit. Quite frankly, I'm sorry if you don't like swearing. I swear a lot. That's actually quite minor for me. But yeah, it just makes me feel crap thinking of ripping apart these things just to never use the yarn anyway. So yes, if you do have tips about that, please do let me know. And because that's the thing, is that Jude said she's knitting things that she'll actually wear. And that's the thing is, you know, one of those sweaters is the Sprig sweater. It is gorgeous. I love it. But it's 3/4. It's a heavy yarn. It's 3/4 sleeve. And it's got a wide boat neck. And the thing is where I live, DK sweaters do have a use. But if it's cold enough to wear a DK sweater, it is not cold enough for an open neck and short sleeves. So, I mean, if it was a fingering weight sweater, that'd be fine. I would wear that. But because it's the DK, it just really doesn't work. And, you know, through doing my capsule wardrobe workbook as well, I've discovered that I prefer drapey, long-lined things, and both of those sweaters are quite short. They're not short, but the Sprig is shorter than the Antros, but they're not like cropped. So yeah, yeah, just being really conscious of what you actually wear and knitting things that you will wear. It sounds simple, but you know, that's the thing is like I mentioned about, you know, chasing after the next new shiny pattern that's come out that's popular at the time and always knitting what's popular and forgetting about what you already had in your library prior to that. So yeah, I think sometimes you can get swept up in that whole craze of, oh, this is the new hot thing, I have to knit this, and then you sit back with your FO at the end and you're like, I'm probably never going to wear this. So yeah, I think that's super, super important, is to stay conscious of what you actually do like to wear and then work accordingly with that. And probably one of the last things that I wanted to mention about what Jude had responded to me with was that I mentioned that the large stash that I have is really overwhelming and I don't like having a large stash. And again, giving me a completely different perspective, Jude was saying that she looks at her stash as being an investment in future knitting. So if she has leaner times in the future, she knows that she has the things in her stash that she can continue to create and, you know, make things for herself and have her creative outlet of knitting available to her when she may not have, you know, as much funds in leaner times to buy more yarn. And that was such a really good sort of point of view that I hadn't really thought of it being sort of investing in my future crafting. And I think as part of that is this being conscious and curating a stash that will work, you know, into the future, like how Jude said she's incorporated more neutrals into her stash, and that is something that I really need to focus on, is having more of those base neutrals that I can then add things to. And yeah, so that's probably all I really want to talk about with Jude's response. But yeah, it was such a fantastic response, and I really appreciated you taking the time to get in touch and give such an awesome response to me, Jude. It's just made me think of so many things completely differently. And please, if you were intrigued by anything that Jude said and you want to read it in her own words, please do head over and have a look at that post. I'll make sure I've got the right post. I think it's the Impulse Control episode post, but I'll pop it in the show notes as well, just so you can directly find it from there. Wow, I feel like I've been talking forever. Have a bit more water. All right, so like I said, I did my capsule wardrobe printout, and I've done it from April to June because that's starting this month. They probably could have done May to July, seeing April's pretty close to being over. But yeah, I found this really informative. I'm not going to go through everything that I did, but if you're looking to sort of pinpoint your style, what you like to wear, colours you like to wear, that kind of thing, I would really recommend downloading and printing this out and taking the time with your wardrobe to go through it, because I basically have really narrowed down what I like to wear and what is appropriate for my life. Because, you know, I no longer work office jobs, so I don't need anything like work pants or, you know, business jackets or anything like that anymore. And I'm highly likely never to go back to that. So if I do have any of that stuff left, I'm freely happy to let it go. Besides the fact that my weight, you know, fluctuates so much that it probably won't even fit me in the future if I decide to go back to office work anyway. I noticed that I only really wear flat shoes, A, because they're comfortable, B, because my husband is short, yeah, and mostly because of the comfort factor, and I prefer drapey tops and tight bottoms. So yeah, and I just found this really interesting. Now let me see what I wanted to really talk about. Yeah, this one was really interesting, and it's basically what's not working for me, and I found this really informative. And basically I've narrowed it down to 6 separate things that I don't enjoy wearing, and those things are in my closet right now. And things that are too tight, who likes those? Especially being big busted, not everything that you buy will fit the bust. Prints, I don't like wearing prints. I don't mind stripes, don't like prints. I don't like anything that's too frou-frou. I don't like light and bright colours. Like I said, bust and arm fit issues, because sometimes depending, the bust might pull on the armholes. The armholes might be too tight, so it cuts and gets tight across the bust. So, and I wrote as a bullet point of that is potentially it's woven fabric. I've sewn a lot of tops for myself that are out of woven fabric, I bought things that are woven fabric, and I really have kind of come to the realization that they don't always fit well around the arms, shoulders and bust for my shape. And so because of that, I probably maybe should steer clear of woven tops, that I should just go for knit fabric that stretches, that conforms. And the other thing is revealing clothing. I don't like anything overtly revealing, because one of the things that sat in my wardrobe for the longest time, and the only reason I'm keeping it, is because Simon has this memory of me wearing it when I was probably 25 kilos lighter than I am right now, so it may not even fit. And probably, I mean, it's stretchy and it's a halter, so it only covers as much as it covers, and you know, if I'm bigger than that, it kind of fits anyway, because yeah, it's stretchy. So the only reason I've been keeping it is because he always remembers me wearing it at this particular Christmas party, and he just thought I looked really lovely in it, and that's really sweet, but I don't know that I'm ever going to wear that. Such a small amount of my life requires dressing up. It is minuscule, the amount of time in my life that requires dressing up. And that revealing top is not something that I would likely wear to a special occasion, that I would need a more fancy dress. So, but I've left it hanging around in there. So, you know, this is the problem. This is what I'm trying to remedy, is to have a functional wardrobe full of things that I will actually wear. And something that I thought was really interesting was there was a part that basically you want to work out what your lifestyle is, and I kind of worked out roughly how many hours per week were waking hours, and you know, I do approximately 30 hours of work a week, and that's not strictly every week. I probably have more leisure time than most. We have a tiny, tiny social life. We very rarely go out. If we do something social, more often than not, we're hosting a couple of friends here, so I don't need to get dressed up for my own home. Exercise, I probably do 3 to 5 hours of exercise a week. Doesn't take up much time. So the bulk of my time is literally just doing housework, cooking, and relaxing around the house. So it's like I do not need a bunch of fancy clothes for that, you know. At the most, I need a few tops, I need some leggings, and, you know, a pair of jeggings for going out, because since I've been bigger, I've struggled to fit jeans, so I'm much better off in jeggings because they're elasticated, with a drapey top, that kind of thing. So yes, I found this exercise really interesting, and the other thing too is they ask you about brands that you think have good clothing for you, and I wouldn't even know, because I can't remember the last time I went shopping properly for myself. I've rushed out to the shops to buy myself a dress or something that I need for something, but I've not gone shopping as a general rule. And the other interesting thing is to pick your wardrobe colours, and that is what I tend to wear. Black and grey, blue jeans or blue top, and then I've got these accent colours that I wear from time to time. So that is my wardrobe colours. And yeah, on the bulk of what I like to wear is black and grey and jeans. So yeah, the colours in my wardrobe aren't really fitting. And the other interesting thing that I thought was my go-to uniforms. That was also really eye-opening for me, because it's not what I would have probably picked before going through this exercise. So I pretty much like leggings or jeggings, a drapey top or a drapey t-shirt, a long line cardigan or a light sweater, and if I'm wearing a dress, it's probably going to be some sort of form-fitting dress, you know, not a bodycon dress, but something that's a little bit more form-fitting, because I mentioned how a lot of big girl clothes tend to be really drapey and really big, and they just make you look bigger. So I try and, you know, find a dress that's a little bit more form-fitting, and usually some sort of sharp, edgy jacket and some ankle boots or flats. So that's pretty much the three outfits that I only ever wear. And so they're my go-to uniforms, which has been such an interesting sort of exercise, because then I can, when I go shopping, I know, okay, a long line drapey cardigan, that works with one of my uniforms. Or, you know, a form-fitting dress, that works with one of my uniforms. So that was what I really wanted to break it down to, is finding my uniforms, because I know it sounds really boring, like a uniform, but when it's all clothing that is what you enjoy wearing, it fits your lifestyle, you know, it's okay to have a uniform. You can mix it up from time to time, but to me, having a uniform just saves so much mental energy when trying to dress yourself. You know, you know what you reach for. If you've got plenty of options, you know, what, 2 or 3 options of each thing, you can just pick what you feel like for the day, put it on, you know it's going to work. And that, to me, is exactly where I am with what I want out of my wardrobe right now. So yeah, and I made a little bit of a shopping list. I just wanted to really get a couple more pairs of thick leggings and another pair of jeggings, so I have a backup, because my other pair I've had for a little while. And I need some long sleeve tops for the coming cooler weather, with slightly, you know, the drapier front rather than being so tight like the tops that I do own. And probably another long line cardi, so I have 2 to alternate between. So there we go. I would definitely recommend, if you are interested in the capsule wardrobe, to go through this exercise, because I found it really enlightening. I had a lot of fun. I actually did it this morning so that I could talk to all of you about it. And yeah, I found it really interesting. I put some tunes on and I fiddled around in my wardrobe and did my colouring in, and yeah, I found it really informative and quite fun. So I guess the next step is to go through what I currently own and colour bunch, and I'm actually really excited. Like, it's not seeming like a chore to me right at this point in time. It's actually seeming like something fun that I'm really looking forward to getting into. So there you go. That's our capsule wardrobe and our impulse control, you know, response kind of muddlings. So I guess I can get on to what I have been working on. All right, back to the roots of what the My Muddlings podcast is all about. And oh, I've just realised that I don't have the full sock. Hang on. And she's back. I have a sock, and basically this was a request from my mother-in-law, who, I don't know if I've spoken much about her, but I love my mother-in-law. I got super, super lucky with her. I know there's, you know, usually, oh, mother-in-laws and whatever, but I love my mother-in-law. And she has a Chinese student staying with her. And she's been with them for a really long time, and she's become part of the family. And it was recently her birthday, and my mother-in-law said to me on Saturday night, she says, "Oh, I meant to ask you about a pair of socks for Aliane." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "What, hand knit socks?" "Yeah." And she says, "I meant to ask you about it." And she goes, "Can you have something to me by next weekend?" And I sort of, bloody people who think it doesn't take, you know, you can do a pair of socks like that. No. And I'm like, "No." And she goes, "Well, do you have any? Have you got any lying around?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I just make socks and leave them lying around. You know, any socks that I knit go to their recipients or go into my sock drawer and they've been worn. I don't have any pairs of socks just floating around." And anyway, so yeah, so I thought I'd give myself a challenge. I have brought in a new yarn base. I've called it Boo, and it's a bamboo and superwash BFL. And because it's a new base, I thought, well, I dyed some Earl Grey up on the new Boo base, and yeah, I thought I would make a pair of socks. And I posted these on Instagram, this finished one on Instagram the other day, and said that this is the colourway that just keeps on giving. It seems to look great on every gauge, and I'm so proud, so stinking proud of this colourway, folks. You know, I don't, not to sound up myself or anything, but I'm really proud of it. I love it. So yes, this is just my vanilla socks, just something super simple that I can do really quickly all out of my head. My Earl Grey colourway on my new Boo sock base. I don't know if you can see, but it's BFL, like I said, BFL and bamboo, and the bamboo actually gives it a really lovely sheen. And it also gives it a bit of a heathered look, which is really lovely. So my challenge is I'm going to see my mother-in-law tomorrow. So my challenge was to get the pair done by tomorrow, which is Friday. Got this one done in 2 days. This one has had 2 days worth of work on it. I have turned the heel, so I just have to do the foot and the toe. So later on this afternoon, after I've edited this podcast, I should be able to smash through this, because I'd really love to get these washed and on the blockers tonight, so that hopefully are dry by tomorrow afternoon when I see her. So, was there anything else I need to say? I told you what the yarn was, I told you what the pattern was, and I bitched about my time constraints. And I've got my lovely little progress keeper here from Tam's Crafty Knits. Tamara gave that to me. So I thought, well, Earl Grey colourway with the teapot, perfect. So that's the most important thing I've been working on. And the second thing I have been working on is I have dug out my what's it called? Impressionists mystery knit along again. Now, Clue 4 is out. I've seen that there are finished objects cropping up on the interwebs on Ravelry. So I'm going to show this off. I'm only in Clue 2. So if you are knitting along, you've probably already seen it, but you have been warned if you do want to look away. I'm going to show it now. Okay, so I haven't got heaps further than what you have seen before, partially because I actually ripped out where this third colour came in, because I was using a different colourway. I rescanned it here. This is what I was using, and I was knitting it in, and because my other two colourways are speckle colourways, the tonal just really wasn't working, and so I decided to rip that out, and I've replaced it with another Circus Tonic handmade colour, because that's what I'm using. This is Circus Tonic handmade single ply, and although it is still a little bit tonal, it does have speckles in it. So I don't know if you can quite see, there's yellow, pink and green speckles on like a grey base. So I thought that this would be more appropriate than just the plain tonal with no speckles. And you can kind of see the speckles. Yellow and green are the most prevalent, but there are pink on the way as you go through. So I'm just starting, not just starting, but I've been doing the lace. I'm starting the lace here. I'm not sure if you can see that on the camera, but yes, I've started the lace here, and I guess I'm just going to keep going. But this has kind of been my treat for working on those socks, because just doing socks round, especially when they're not for you, even though you love the yarn, yeah, it can get a little bit boring. So I've been, the other night I actually set a timer, and because I'd already been knitting on those socks for so long, I set a timer, and I said after 30 minutes I can knit on my shawl. So I did my 30 minutes on the sock and then got onto my shawl. So yeah, there we go. That's about where I am. Hopefully once the socks are finished, I'll be able to get a little bit more done. But that is my Impressionist Mystery Cal, and I'm putting it away now. It's probably off camera. It is gone for anybody who has issues with spoilers. All right. So, what's next? I guess I can show you all a little bit of dyeing that I have done this week. I I don't know that I'm going to be doing regular shop updates anymore. I think I will potentially just add things to the shop as and when I get time to photograph them and list them. So Instagram is the best place to follow me at lovebirdlane if you want to keep up with what is going in the shop. But I have 4 colorways this week. One of them, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have already seen, and I will just grab that one first because we'll get the one that's old news out of the way first. Alright, so this is Blue Lagoon. This is a colorway that I have created for Boston Jen, that is the Downseller Studio podcast splash pad party. So as part of that, I am a pro shop sponsor, and which means I have created an exclusive colorway, well, an exclusive item for me because I'm a yarn dyer. It's yarn, an exclusive colorway that is only available for the duration of the knit along this year, which I believe is June and July. It's now available now through the end of the knit along. And after that, it will not be available again until 2019. So I've got quite a bit of this. I've got 4 skeins already in the shop on Peach Face and Swindon Sock, I believe. And I have, and I think I've got a bamboo. I can't actually see it. I think I have one on bamboo as well. 2 Peach Face, 1 Swindon and 1 bamboo. This week I will be putting in some Solo, which is my singles 100% merino. I'll have some Glitzy, which is my gold Stellina base. I'll have a Fisher and a Nyasa, which is my DK and my Aran. So those 4 Blue Lagoons will be in the shop this week. Now I can get on to new colorways. This one is called, I think I'm going to be calling it Goth Girl, because, you know, every dyer seems to have a colorway called Goth Girl. So it's basically black with pink speckles in it. This one here has got some interesting dye breaking things going on here, which is quite fun. So it's pretty much black and pink. And I've got this on 4 different bases. So I've got it on Solo again. I have one on Plush Sock. This one I believe is Boo. So it's my bamboo and BFL. And then this one is my Sheepy Sock. And it's interesting because my Sheepy Sock is BFL. And so bamboo and BFL and just BFL and nylon, and you can see the heathered look of the bamboo, how different the black looks on there. It looks far more grey because it's way more heathered because of that bamboo content. So this one is Goth Girl. Now this one, I'm unsure as to the name of it because I'm kind of thinking either Impressionist, because it kind of just reminds me of a really dappled kind of Impressionist painting, or watercolour. That's the name that I'm thinking with these ones. And I actually really like these. These are colours that I don't like, the corally orange and the bright green and things like that. They're not necessarily colours that I usually gravitate to. However, I really, really like these. I'm really quite happy with this. And it's speckly and variegated, and I'm going to have 4 skeins. I believe this is, I think this is my test base that I'm trying for Peach Face. I'm trying a new base. This one is Glitzy, so that's my gold Stellina. This one is either bamboo or BFL, could just be my Sheepy BFL. No, this one is my new Peach Face base. So this other one is my Plush Sock. So that is probably watercolour or Impressionist. This next one is actually my favourite that I did the other day. And this one I'm calling Tartan. So I was really thrilled with how this came out. And funnily enough, I was actually aiming for more the red as being more as a speckle, but it actually kind of spread, and I actually really love it. Like you can see there, it just really, it's spread. And I really love the way this turned out, and it's so interesting to see the same colourway on different bases. So I think that's one of my BFLs. I've got it written down what they are. Then I have one on Solo. I think that was actually my favourite of all of the 4, was the Solo skein. What do we got? This is Plush Sock. And then this is my Peach Face Test Base. So yeah, they're the 4 colourways that I will be adding to the shop this week. And yeah, I hope there is something there that you enjoy. And I guess finally I can just talk a little bit about stuff that's happened this week. There's not a whole ton. Yesterday was Anzac Day here in Australia, and I guess over in New Zealand as well. We do take a day to commemorate. We have dawn services. So yesterday was a public holiday, and on this public holiday we decided to, Simon's dad and his partner invited us for lunch, so we went out for lunch, which was nice. We went down to the West Beach Surf Lifesaving Club, so we were on the ocean. It was a very sunny day. It was quite breezy. The ocean looked beautiful. It was very high tide, which was quite interesting. They brought their doggy, so we got to see Bruce, and yeah, we just had a nice lunch down there. And then last night, like I said, I saw Infinity War, Avengers Infinity War, which was really, really good. I don't want to talk much about that because I don't want to give any spoilers for anybody who is concerned. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. I was going into it extremely anxious, but I was almost to the point where I didn't want to see it because you know, because you fall in love with these characters and you don't want to see anything bad happen to them. So I was high anxiety prior to going in, but I'm glad I went. It was good. I enjoyed it. It was a absolutely sold out cinema, so it was a bit of a fight to get seats. Especially because we had 7 people in our party, so we were trying to get together. So that was interesting. Luckily, we got 6 of us in a row, and then 1 of us in front, which was fine. And yeah, it was terrible organisation really, because it was a sold out screening, and they really, you kind of think, you know, okay, it's sold out. There's going to be lots of people wanting to line up to try and get the best seat they can, and people were rocking up. We were already in line at 5:30, and the movie didn't start until 6, and so we were waiting there for at least half an hour. We could have got there before 5:30, and we were trying to create an orderly line so that we could go in, and then people were jumping the line and grouping around the door, and it was really frustrating because it's like, well, you walk in 5 minutes before it starts. We've been here for half an hour and you're going to get better seats than us. So it's kind of like, why didn't they have bollards up, you know, like some sort of, you know, orderly line so people can see where to stand. So we were a little bit miffed at that. That was a bit annoying. And we usually prefer to go upstairs in the cinema to look directly at the screen, but we were probably 3 or 4 meters back from the door, so there was a fairly large group in front of us, and almost everyone just flew up the stairs. So we were like, okay, well, let's try the bottom, and we managed to get the second back row in the bottom floor, so it wasn't too bad. Like when you sat back in the chair, like the screen was well within what my glasses, the lenses are, so it was quite comfortable. It was a little bit strange being so close to the screen because we don't normally watch movies so close. But yeah, that was quite good. My friend Emma was very annoyed because if you are into those movies and you see it and you see what happens at the end of the film, Simon said to her, oh, the next one's not out for another year. And she's like, what? Another year? She's like, no, they can't do that to me. It's really funny. So yeah, we all really enjoyed it. I don't think anybody had any criticisms. So yeah, if you are interested, I would recommend to go and have a watch. It was actually really enjoyable. What else has happened this week? We went to my mother-in-law's, as I said, on Saturday night, and that was because Aliane cooked hot pot for us, which was fantastic. I've never actually experienced that before. And if you're not aware, it's basically they had some long brewing broths that she created. She made one with meat in it, so there was, I think, lamb and pork belly in that one. And she made another one that had fish, because Simon's allergic to fish. He's also allergic to tofu, which was in there as well, but he's not like anaphylactic with that. It's just a bit of a soy allergy, so he just avoided the tofu and he was fine. And yeah, so we had hot pot, and it had fried tofu and fresh tofu, and we had some prawns, because I only ate the fish one because I don't eat lamb, and I don't eat pork belly either, so I wanted to kind of avoid that one. The smell of it really wasn't doing anything for me, but everyone else seemed to enjoy it. But I had some of the fish one, and it had like little bits of like crab roll and these really interesting fish ball things, and she had some really thinly sliced meats that she just popped in. And like, so basically you have these broths that I don't know how long they cooked for, but they were like broths, and then she added in noodles and like greens and things like that, and just let them cook on the table. So they had a hot plate with one of them on, and then they had a slow cooker plugged in on at the table for the other one. And yeah, so basically we just made it on the fly, just adding things in as we, you know, kind of wanted, and essentially making a really chunky soup. And yeah, it was really yum. I got to try edamame for the first time. I'd never actually eaten edamame. And she'd had this one that she'd made some sort of chili oil, spiced oil, that they'd kind of been cooked in or marinated in. I'm not sure how she did it. So they were quite spicy, but they were like hot spicy, but they were also had like star anise and things like that in it. So it was really flavorful. So I really enjoyed those. I'd love to find out how she made them, because they were really yum. And not having tried edamame before, I didn't realize it was supposed to take the beans out of the pod, and I didn't eat a pod. But yeah, because I'd never eaten them before. They were like, yeah, you take the beans out, you just eat the beans, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, we had that, and Simon's sister was there with a friend, and her poor friend, because they play women's footy, and her friend had been clobbered in the face and she was getting a black eye, poor thing. So we were all keeping an eye on her, making sure she was all right. And yeah, it was a really good night. It was really, really good night. My mother-in-law got me quite drunk, as she usually does. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a great night. And yeah, so that was fun. But other than that, it's just been same old, same old. Had a dye day on Tuesday, and I have agreed to go to a funeral tomorrow afternoon with my mother-in-law for moral support. So I'll be doing my cleaning shift in the morning. But yeah, with the day off in between, I just feel like this week's been super busy, but I've achieved nothing. But I clearly have, because you've just seen what I dyed this week. But yeah, it's been a good week. I'm feeling a lot more energetic than I did last week. When I was looking back, editing that podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, I look so low energy today. But yeah, I apologise for that. I didn't realise that at the time that I was actually recording that I was quite so low energy. But hopefully today I'm a little bit more upbeat, and I've really enjoyed responding to Jude and the discussion. And hopefully by next week I can speak to you a bit more about going through my wardrobe and things like that. And hopefully maybe I'll even take some footage. You can see me searching through all of the stuff. But yeah, so that's probably all I've got for today. I hope you have enjoyed the discussion. Please, if you have anything to add or you'd like to comment or give me some tips, please do. I'm always open to that. I have to say thank you to those who have commented on YouTube. I haven't had a chance to respond to those comments, but I do read them as soon as I get notifications. So I have read your comment. I just haven't quite got around to replying to them. Thank you for your comment. I do appreciate it a lot. And also a shout out to Monica from Ash and Oak Yarns. Thank you for the tips and the private message you sent me on Instagram. Thank you. And yeah, so I guess I'll leave it there. I think I've said thank you to everybody. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. Happy crafting, and I will see you then. Bye.